philosophy, religion, politics, and gaming, and anything else taboo. We are here in a very small room. We're in the... Is it the red room or the yellow room?
No, it's the red room.
Red room.
Favourite room. Red
room of the Fisher Library. Here at the University of Sydney. And
kicking crap. That's how small it is.
We're here in a cupboard. And in this cupboard we found Ray Radford.
I'm essentially a goblin.
Hey.
I am the office domovoy, as we have discovered.
The office what?
Domovoy. I'm like a friendly little helper thing that lives in the office, and if you need something, I can find it.
What's a domovoy though? I've never heard of that term.
Slavic. Slavic mythology.
Please say Dumbledore.
Not yet.
Yeah, we all aspire to that beard. Not of that amount of dead though. Spoilers. Did he die?
He did, yeah.
Okay.
But
Ben hates Harry Potter.
I do. First
Me
three
too.
books.
You do as well, yeah.
Terrible. Anyway, I'm Ben Banasik.
I'm Tara Smith.
We're both PhD award-winning
Yay.
people from the University of Sydney. And Ray is also a PhD...
also award-winning.
Award-winning.
Yeah.
Are you?
Well, not for PhD. I mean, I got the highest honours mark.
Yeah.
Thing, so.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Rachel McKinnon Prize, I believe it was.
Rachel McKinnon. Who was Rachel McKinnon?
No freaking clue. I tried Googling it, and it was just like...
We've done this before where we go, oh yeah, we're in the John Woolley building, and hang on, who's John Woolley? And we're like both blank-faced looking at each other, realising we're recording at this time and we don't know anything.
I know, I tried Googling who she was, and literally Google just gave me back a shrug and was like...
Luckily, we have a fact checker that listens to every
That's
episode.
true. Yeah, Mark will fact check
He'll find
this.
out. He'll know who
100%.
He'll know Rachel McGibbon.
Yeah, he will. We'll get back to you on that when this is published. This will be published after the fact that we are recording this. So, as a timeless question that I would like to enter into this completely unprovoked and, with absolute surprise, because we've never recorded this before.
No, never.
No. What was your first band memory, Raymond?
I saw Tool when I was 16, 17. This is like 2001 at the now long gone, long dead entertainment centre. Also, just sneaky aside, apparently they're touring next year in February.
I saw.
But yeah, that was my first memory.
That's February 2020. Just
Yeah.
I'm not sure when we're going to record.
Yeah. Hopefully this won't be held over until next Christmas.
Next Christmas, so they've already toured.
It was good.
I decided to wait until I saw how much the tickets were going to cost me before I went.
Rage Against the Machine are coming back as well.
Yeah, they're just doing Coachella.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they're doing a number of things, and then Coachella. Yeah. It's a Mexico tour, I think, is the whole basis of it.
That'll be good.
Break down the borders and all that. We need more Rage Against the Machine.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Considering the best part, actually, this is going to date it because like Rage Against the Machine, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But also, I just like the fact
That's what
that
we're
Rage
recording
Against
this
the
10 years
Machine.
ago.
No, but Rage Against the Machine announced a comeback, but also My Chemical Romance, and as soon as Rage Against the Machine announced it, where did that whole MCR thing go? Oh yeah, away. Thank you.
I've never liked those bands. Too angsty.
I don't. My Chemical Romance. You're
Yes,
a My
they
Chemical
are.
Romance?
Oh God, no. God,
Okay.
no.
Oh, you were about to say you liked them and then you were waiting to get...
No.
Yeah, you were. You were being
No,
like,
I don't like
waiting
My
for Ray's
Chemical
response.
No. I've had former staff members that have been in love with them, and
That's why they're former.
yeah, that's going to be an interview question from now on. My Chemical Romance. What's your first reaction? And if there's a gag reflex, then yeah, that's fine.
Congratulations, you're hired.
The same with like Green Day, all those like dweeby,
Yeah.
emo, like
Green
bands.
Day that had like one or two good songs, and then
That one that always plays at your reunion. Something unpredictable.
Oh yeah, no, that's the Seinfeld finale. So that tears me up because I like Seinfeld, not because I like Green Day.
Yeah, but that's in every school year 6 reunion had that same song.
How many years 6 reunions?
One. They play that stupid song. It's like-
Everyone that I've been at, 100% of them.
Yeah, I go every year back to Byron Bay and just sit there. And
Just
clap
to
them
double
off.
check.
Just to check it's still there.
As soon as they play the Green Day song,
Yeah.
you'd like start booing, holding up a protest sign.
Get rid of Green Day.
Must run
Is
in
that your
fam-
laptop trying to take off?
Yeah, it's not sounding good.
Isn't
these
this a
days.
new laptop? Isn't this only like a few years?
It is.
No,
but-
like a few months?
Yeah, but there's
Bro.
something. There is a program that must be sucking up
That
so
doesn't sound
much
right.
memory.
Does not sound good. I don't think it's Facebook Messenger.
No, it's something on here. I don't know.
Ben's just closing all these windows.
Yeah.
Such pornography.
Yeah, I know, Ben. God. Pornhub subscription.
Like,
Well, it's
we like to think we're open-minded, but man, some of that's sick.
it's an untapped resource here at Sydney University where they give you
free data. Use the
free
Wi-Fi.
data. Yeah, download all of the things.
Anyway, what about you, Ben? First music memory.
What me? Oh, what did I say last time? Tism. Tism at home bake. Wearing their backpacks and dancing around. And there was rumours at the time that there was a politician.
For you?
That was no, I wasn't a politician at the time, but there was a politician that was part of the band.
I always liked the story that they were all private school teachers.
Yeah, yeah, and they couldn't let their identification known because they would get fired.
I used to work with a young lady whose dad was one of the founding members of TISM.
Wow,
He was one of the guitarists back in the day.
that's cool.
But not a teacher or a politician. So that kind of ruined TISM. So.
I really liked Tism.
Yeah, me too. They still hold up.
Yeah. And then the same, and you reminded me this, Ray, at the same home bake, there was Girling as well.
Girling, yeah.
Yeah, I only remember one or two of their songs actually being played at the time. I love Girling, and they're still on my playlist. But yeah, Tism, I still remember, like, being in the Triple J tent, it being stinking hot, people climbing up the pole things and jumping off, and yeah, it being very smoky and loud. It was good. I liked it.
Yep.
So, Tara, your smoky, loud Triple J experience?
Well, I had Bob Geldof at Blues Fest when I was like 14.
Okay. Yeah, he's sort of
Yes.
Triple
but
J-esque.
not really. He's old school.
Double J-esque.
Yeah, but I can't remember the other band I said last time. Was it Is it Tripod? Yeah, Tripod is another band I saw at Bangalow.
What do you mean last time, Tara?
Oh yeah, well I think we should explain. So we did do a recording of this, but it was too windy. So this is take 2. So
we did it last week, and then I was editing it, and then noticed some of the audio lines were just flatlined up. So no one would have heard anything.
So this is new to you, but not to us, because we've had this conversation. Yeah.
Well, that's okay.
That's okay. New
It's
things
perfection.
might come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is like the take 2 of all of the great artworks.
Yeah, what happened to Tripod?
I think they're still around.
Are they?
I think, man.
I like funny songs. Do you guys like funny songs?
Probably touring RSL clubs all over the place.
I mean, did you see Aj Barker was playing at Bargo?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
He's made it.
I can't believe anyone plays at Bargo.
Can't believe anyone still lives in Bargo, but that's just the whole Tamil Thelmia rivalry thing coming
that's
into
true.
it, you know?
Bargo's not that bad. It's actually got a lot of gentrification now.
So they've no longer got 6 fingers?
I want to comment on that. These are my constituents you're talking about here. My former
I've
constituents.
lived there since I was 18, it's fine.
That's true.
So-
Yeah, they can lynch you.
Do you want to do a bit of an introduction to how you guys grew up, where you grew up? Because
Oh,
some people
yes.
listening might not even know where Bargo is. I don't.
That's true. So my family moved to the country, where it was the country at the time, past Campbelltown, to the Wollondilly Shire area, and I lived in Picton. I went to St Anthony's primary school, and then I went to Picton High, not knowing anyone. And the year below me, there were some people that used to hang around a tree, and they used to play music, and were referred to as the hippies under the tree. And we were referred to as those woggy nerds at the library. So I think that was... Is that right?
Yeah.
I was the
Sounds
woggy
about
nerd.
right,
Yeah. So I was one of the woggy nerds at the library. So there was the Lebanese family and myself.
You were like, that's the totality of the ethnics.
That's right.
Oh.
There's 4 of us. In a school of like 300 or 400. 4. Yeah, that's a percentage they were comfortable
Then they were
with.
like the two LeFous, and that was, the other part of it.
Yeah.
Very
Um,
white.
but yeah, part of the hippies under the tree. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you guys weren't really friends at high school. Is that right?
Well,
We
I
hung out. It was a lot of interconnection.
with that
the
large
groups,
group.
yeah.
Yeah. So Sally Collins, I think, was an interconnector between the two of us. And my now brother-in-law, Simon Lando, was in your year, and you knew Simon quite well.
I knew Psycho, until he left to Chev. Was it Chev he went to?
Or he dropped out and he was doing his apprenticeship, which did work out really well for him, because then he could buy a house early. Then he went back to Chev.
Yeah, that's right.
So we knew each other through that period, but weren't directly friends or anything like that. And then I, years later, enroll here at Sydney University, and we were walking after a department final seminar.
It's a something seminar, yeah.
One of the many, many end of semester drinks that our department puts on, which seems to be
in the first week.
Was it the start?
I just feel like we have drinks just for pretty much everything.
Pretty much, yeah. It's a week. Let's have drinks. Hooray!
Hey, it's a day that ends in Y.
Yay! One of those. We were walking together, and I said something to someone saying, they asked me how long it's going to take me to get home, and I went, it's about 2 hours, no one really lives out that way in Thelmy, and you're like, what? Where do you live? And I'm like, yeah, Thelmy. And then you said, hang on a second, what's your name? And I said, Benn. And I said, you're like, oh, yeah. And then we sort of connected, and
That's so cute. Now friends forever.
Yeah, but we both look very different from when we were in high school.
Is that why you didn't recognise each other straight away?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, well, if you see old photos of Ray, he looks very different. And I have gotten significantly more beardy and blindy.
Anyway,
yeah, I feel that one.
But we're not here just to reminisce of old Bargo days.
No?
No, so...
It's not Bargo days.
Whatever.
We're Tam or Thelmy
people. Don't care.
It's teased.
Yeah. We're from the Golden Triangle.
Don't care. Really don't care.
Yeah, okay.
Ray, do you want to give us an intro about what your PhD, blah, blah, blah?
We'll go for your honours first.
Yeah, maybe go through it.
Go through my honours. I did my honours in... it's the easiest way to put this. Viewing secular sites as religious sites. So, how feelings and emotions basically create new narratives for sites. So, if you go to a church, you might feel at ease, you might feel peace, blah, blah, blah. But then, in an increasingly secular world where, the nuns are sort of rising up the census ranks, why people go to places like Rennes-le-Château in the south of France, which is a conspiracist hotbed. So you go there, and somewhere in the mountainside is lost Templar treasure, or the bones of Jesus. There's all these different stories. But
Jesus' family's there, isn't it? Holy Blood, Holy Grail.
Yep.
That's it, yeah.
But then it's sort of like, well, what about urban exploration? Why people go there, seek out abandoned buildings, why they attach meaning to these things. Like, we have to have this whole filling empty spaces with things that may not necessarily be there. So utilizing people like Lovecraft, who would go, well, this is all despondent and dark, so there must be some form of creature that lives in there. And that was what my honours was about, just looking at how the interplay between narrative and history create a new narrative.
So when you say that you're looking at that, were you looking at how people journey towards those? So you're looking at spiritual tourism, or are you looking at the actual narrative creation of those?
There's more narrative creation of that. I was at one point tempted to do the spiritual tourism aspect of it, but then it was more just the act of urban exploration is not so much a pilgrimage or a secular or a spiritual tourism thing as it is just here's a site, let's go in. Because a lot of it is very much impromptu. Hello. A lot of it is very much impromptu of, look, there's an abandoned building, let's go and check it out. There are sites that are very much dedicated to being explored by people. There is the Cave Clan in Australia who have, by the story goes, they have keys to pretty much every drain in Sydney.
What?
I haven't heard of these people.
The Cave Clan.
Cave Clan, okay.
Yeah, they're an organisation of urban exploration types who basically believe that they're allowed to go and explore storm drains and places because their tax dollars pay for the upkeep. So technically they should be allowed to go and explore.
Okay.
Sounds dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, there have been deaths. And this is, I told my uncle this once, and he used to work for Sydney Water, and he goes, "Ah, those are the bastards that made me have to keep replacing all the locks." And I was just like, "Yeah, that's them."
Are they the ones that they go? Maybe I shouldn't say. Okay, there's one of the train stations around the Circular Quay. Sorry, not Circular Quay. Around the city circle that you can.
Oh,
jump,
the
yeah. So you can jump down and then go through one of the tunnels and then backtrack, and there's all of these other tunnels and platforms that were created ready for new train stations that were planned, built, and then they did the design work of the city circle and decided, well, actually having all of these forks off a main circle in the middle of the city is probably not a good idea.
Yep.
In hindsight, that's actually probably the right decision. But yeah, so these are the guys that jump down there and go looking.
Go exploring, yeah.
Little mole men.
I mean, they embody the leave no trace thing, so, you go there, they won't leave any signifiers. They're no graffiti.
Yeah.
But it's always people who then emulate them and leave graffiti or trash behind. That gives most of them a bad name.
Well, there's anti-Vietnam War graffiti in a lot of those places, and that's...
Because these places have been explored for a long time. So it's sort of, in the last 20 years or so, urban exploration especially has become this huge thing. With the advent of the internet especially, where you can get a Tumblr and you just upload your photos. But then you've got other urban exploration types who will, especially in Japan, it's called Hikyo, and my pronunciation is terrible, but they'll go to great pains to basically crop out any identifying landmarks.
Oh.
Or they'll take photos.
You mean the people posting the photos?
Yeah. Yeah, so they will look after this site, but to look after it, they will basically hide it from the rest of the world.
Right.
Yeah, or at least from the rest of the population.
So sharing components of it, but not sharing anything else traceable.
So basically, they won't show if it's next to a building. It'll just be, or like mountain ranges or a forest, because there are identifiers. You can go, oh, I know that mountain range. It must be in that area, kind of thing. So they sort of do that. Whereas here, it's just a case of free for all.
Yeah.
And then there are the ones who like to climb up onto roofs and the cranes and take photos. I just forgot the word of crane for a minute there.
So these people are doing this and you're looking at them. How does that connect to you being in the Studies of Religion department? What's the interconnection?
I was looking at it as a religious point of view. And then because I was looking at it specifically from a conspiracist point of view.
Right.
Where the conspiracy becomes an encompassing part of who they are and what they believe in. And therefore can be, somewhat tenable to the point of religious belief. And then that's sort of what I'm quite interested in. I mean, I really should have done that for my PhD rather than angry white people. But here we are. I have chosen well. That's what I was going for. So it's sort of like attaching spiritual and religious significance to these sites and then choosing to fill them with stories and narratives and history. That's not necessarily the history that they come with or the history that they have, but it's now the history. And that's where, like ghost stories, things like North Head, the quarantine station, I looked at that, and it's sort of like the history of it now is, oh, look at all those ghosts that are there, not the 40,000 years of indigenous history that's attached to the land. Even though that was also the point of the settlers giving the indigenous population blankets with smallpox on them, stuff like that.
Yes.
But, that's not really known. You can go and read that history, but if you ask anyone about the quarantine station, it's like, oh, damn ghosts. Oh, damn ghosts. So,
And so your PhD is kind of moving a little bit away towards that, looking more at the angry white man. Do you want to maybe explain the change and then also what your PhD is looking?
Well, my PhD was meant to be more along the lines of what I was doing with my honours, but I was going to look at it in a larger context of countries, and countries who don't look at the history beyond a certain amount of time. So I was going to look at Europe, America, and Japan, specifically looking at the point of most of America is sort of, the history starts from World War II, and that's where a lot of the pro-America kind of thing comes from. Europe has a 60,000 year history, at least. Because if you go to the Chabot Caves, there's cave paintings that they've estimated to be about 60,000 years. And it sort of seems to be this whole, they don't want to look at these far histories, even though this is what they're built on. And so it comes to a case of, well, we'll just look at it from World War II. This is where we proved ourselves, we've showed our mettle, and we'll just sort of disregard everything else up until that point. And Japan had this weird, they also kind of want to look after World War II, because of all the things they did before World War II, or during World War II and before that, to the point where you get these people who are like, no, we just need to forget what we did in World War II, and then you have these really extreme ultra-nationalists in Japan, which are like, nope, we need to go back to that. We need to kick the foreigners out, we need to re-establish our borders, re-establish our military, and just basically be as Japanese as we were in the Showa period.
So these are counter-cultural revolutionary movements, basically.
Yeah.
So you got the cultural revolutions, which took place in all three regions where you've mentioned, that threw out what was prior.
Yep.
Particularly, you can see it in China and Japan,
Yep.
which was a very visual thing, removing the cultural dress, removing the imperial status, having the kingdom still existing, so having the figurehead of the monarchy, but then not continuing on that in any sort of power sense. So these movements then look at that period of being, a golden era prior to the Second World War? Right, so do they...
Less in Japan, at least.
Yeah.
In America and Europe, they just basically want to go, oh, look at all the great things we did in World War II.
Right.
Except maybe Germany. But, yeah, so that was where I was going with that. And then I was in Europe earlier this year, and I was having a lot of conversations with people, because I was at the EASR, and there's only about 700 scholars there. It's only a few.
Small, yeah.
This is very tiny. It was but yeah, it's sort of, and then after Christchurch and a few other things popped up, it was a case of, well, I can take that idea and shift it into looking at the Great Replacement theory that is being spouted by a lot of these groups. And so that's what my PhD is on now. Angry white people in America and Europe who are afraid of being usurped and overtaken and overthrown by people who are not them or have the same values as them.
And that's the Great Replacement.
But I'm also looking at it from a point of view of, well, it's already happened, but because it didn't happen to white people, it's not considered a Great Replacement. It's considered civilizing the savages, as one of the books I read called it. It's like, oh, good, okay, yeah.
So they specifically point to aspects of removing culture from Indigenous people as being a civilized mode of existence?
Yeah, so when the white race turned up on the shores of America, they were bringing with them civilization, and they were civilizing those savages in America, and then they did nothing wrong.
Okay.
But then the great thing is, well, not the great thing, it's the guy who coined the term the Great Replacement refers to Europeans as the indigenous of Europe.
Yeah.
So he's utilizing the same vernacular to, sort of like, oh no, we need to save ourselves. It's like, okay.
Do they don't notice that there is like a contradiction obviously happening there? Or
I think it's a great deal of cognitive dissonance.
right.
But also I think it's a case of, well, they just think they're better and more mighty and worth preserving and worth saving. Because, then they adapt to go, oh look, we've been here for 60,000 years. We've gone from the Stone Age to the Romans to the, to the Gauls, and we've expanded and we've been here and we've done all this stuff. We shouldn't be taken over by people from another country and another race.
Yeah, right.
So, but then you have those people who are like, the ultra-nationalists who are like, we should just keep everyone in their own country. So there's a guy called Varg Vikernes after the Christchurch shooting. This is one thing I was kind of like, I kind of agree with you on this, mate, but you're a dickhead still. Where he was saying, so he goes, he got asked about the Christchurch shooting, and he goes, he was an idiot. Why was he shooting Muslims in New Zealand and carrying on about this in Europe.
Yeah.
If he was really concerned, he should have been shooting Muslims in Europe, because New Zealand should be free for the Maori. You know, so keep New Zealand for the Maori, Australia gets the indigenous populations, and the Europeans go back to Europe, and everyone just stays where they belong. There's no cross-cultural sort of divides. It's just a case of, well, that's yours, that's yours, that's yours.
What if you got kind of dual citizenship? Where would you go?
Wow.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing. You know, so I've spoken to people like that from my own area, and some of them campaigned against me for council. And, you know, they referred to me as Slavic. Like, that's only partially true. Actually, the majority is not there. And then I started thinking about, well, you know, if I did have to go back to somewhere, that place no longer exists.
That's it. I mean, that's one of the things I'm looking at is the Roma. Like, in Europe, there's this weird thing of what is European and what is Europe. And the Roma don't apply to any of it.
Yeah.
You have a lot of countries, France in particular, attempting to tell the Romanian government to take them, and the Romanian government's like, why? They're not from here.
Yeah.
It's just because they're called the Roma, and the first 4 letters of our country are Roma.
Roma, yeah.
Like, because they're from a country that no longer exists.
Yeah. Or even the Polish people who are living in Scotland.
Yeah.
They're referred to as the Poles. Yes, they speak that language, but lots of them are from outside of the current Polish borders.
Well, it comes down to there was a case in Australia. There's last year, the year before, there's a guy in Queensland who had bikie affiliation. He lived here since he was 2. He was born in New Zealand. He was here since he was 2. He's now 60-something. He'd had a business. He'd paid taxes. All that kind of stuff. And he got pinged for some traffic offence. They went, oh, you got bikie affiliation, so they shipped him off back to New Zealand.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, at what point do you become that part of that country?
Yeah. Well, it goes further back. So Anthony Green shared this statistic about the last federal election. So the rule is, if you want to be in Parliament, you have to forego any nationality claim of any other country that is possible. Someone ran, and his mother had a sperm donation in New Zealand. Right? So his father, his paternal, like his father, is from New Zealand, we assume. If that sperm was from New Zealand. So that's where she was, impregnated or whatever, successfully. Came to Australia, had the child. Child grows up, runs for Parliament. Now, that man didn't actually get elected, but if he would have been elected, under the claims that happened in the last term of Parliament with the whole Section 41 and all of that issue, potentially that guy would have been booted out of Parliament for having been born of the sperm of someone from another country. It's weird. It's real.
Well, we should just do DNA test for
DNA,
everybody.
yeah.
My head hurts now.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So what limit do you go to? And this is what I find difficult with. I find a lot difficult with a lot of the nationalist groups. Yeah, to be fair,
Oh no, me too. No.
Oh really? I find it easier. Bring it on.
Them hating my actual race is a problem.
Really?
What? The Slavs?
Yeah, that one too. But beyond that, there just seems to be so many contradictions with a lot of their stuff. Tara, you were on that podcast. What was it called? That guy.
What the blank?
What the blank is that?
I think so.
Yeah, and
or out of the blank.
Okay, yeah, and the host just kept repeating, there's some truth to these things, He's
a big conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, I would just want to give them some light because there's a little bit of truth in everything.
Yeah. Basically playing the devil's advocate for every conspiracy theory.
Absolutely, and you pushed him, and well, actually, what's the limit? Like, what do you actually believe in lizard people? Do you actually believe in this? And I just struggle with these nationalist groups. So when you're dealing with them, right, and you're getting information from them, how do you, one, not laugh at them? Two, how do you take it home and think, well, all right, that's what they believe and that's what it is? Or do you have this urge to argue with them and try to get them to see the light?
I feel like the big problem is arguing with them is a waste. like their beliefs are so deeply entrenched. It's just a losing battle.
But then, like the video, we watched a really interesting documentary. I've told you a bit about him. I think it's Daryl Davis. He's the ex-jazz musician who converts the Klan members, and he's really interesting because he seems to be able to get people to sit down with him and have a conversation.
Because I think his thing is like he spends a lot of time with them.
Yep.
So sort of like it's like a long run kind of thing. Whereas if you just meet someone for 5 minutes and you sort of sit down and you go, you're an idiot, your ideas are bunk. It's sort of in that 5 minutes you don't have that chance to really actually connect with someone. Like if you want to change someone's mind, you actually have to have that connection where they will start to listen to you.
Definitely. I don't think you can really do it on the internet either because you lose that human thing because you're not seeing the room face to face and saying, I want to annihilate your people or something.
And also, like, a lot of the places on the internet where these people, like the chants and all that kind of stuff, it just becomes an echo chamber, a giant echo chamber of people agreeing with each other. And then if someone posits a different point of view, they're, like, downvoted into oblivion.
Yeah, or they get booted off the forum.
And so it's sort of like if you can have a chance to sit down with someone and over a long period of time you could probably change their mind.
Yeah.
But
it's hard.
Yeah. Because a lot of them, their beliefs are just that entrenched and ingrained within them. Because a lot of them deal with it from like a young age.
Yeah.
Like there's that whole thing of racism's not born, it's built. So, if your parents are involved or that kind of thing. There's his name will come to me now. Well, it'll come to me at 2 a.m. He wrote... It's a book called American Skinhead. It's about one of the youngest leaders, the Hemiskins. And the Hemiskins are like the most violent white power group in America. Basically, they're known for, if you want to have a white power meeting, you go get the skins and there'll be security. They don't care, they just want to fight. And he basically was like, well, I didn't grow up racist, but I lived in a predominantly black neighborhood. I'd had a couple of run-ins with a couple of the black kids. And then one night I met a guy who was like, oh, hey, come on, we're going to go to a party. And it was the current leader of, I think it was a war affiliate, the White Aryan race party. And, and it just sort of went from there. He goes, oh, look, I found a family now, people who will protect me and look after me. And that's... and then he spent 15 years in it, and then finally got out when he had a kid and all that kind of stuff, and Yeah, I
definitely think there's some sort of brotherhood and solidarity there.
Yeah, that's it's that whole thing that people are always seeking.
Yeah.
Sort of, they just want that connection with other people.
Yeah. It's also really hard to infiltrate those groups because I know like some of the incel forums now, like you basically have to answer all these questions to join and they try and wheedle you out and make sure you're not, because they get so many people coming on the site to, to either to make jokes or...
See, the big problem with that is, because I'm writing an article on incels.
Yeah.
Or it might be a book chapter, we're not entirely sure yet. But there is language that they are explicitly looking for.
Yeah.
And if you say one thing wrong, they immediately know you're not part of them. And it just becomes this, well, what is this deeply ingrained language? And it's just like buzzwords and keywords and that kind of thing. And it's like it's the same with like the white supremacist groups. There are terms and things and...
It's a club.
It's a club, yeah. Spelled with a K.
Yeah.
Or a clavin if you want to be a clan member.
Yeah. You need to prove your virginity. Basically.
Possibly.
To try and trick them into getting in. Because I was talking to there's somebody at this university doing his PhD in incels. I was talking a little bit about and he just said it's so hard now to get onto those forums that even to make an account, to even not even be interviewing, but just using that material, that forum material, really hard to access. And also even on Reddit now, because a lot of the groups are banned, there's all those like mock kind of incel, what do they call
incel
it? Incel tears or brain cell or whatever, and like different sort of ones, and they're just mostly used for mocking, and they're taking things from other sites, but you don't know where it's come from.
Yeah, but that was the after the Christchurch shooting, and they shut down things like 8chan, which is back now.
Yeah.
But just migrated servers, but things like that, Stormfront, there's a couple other ones, but it's kind of like you're not. making it easier to watch these people. Because they will always go onto these things and post these things.
Yeah.
But as soon as you shut down their sites, they'll go underground.
Yeah.
You know, they'll make it harder for you to actually find them, watch what they're doing, and just basically keep an eye on things.
Yeah.
And I think that's... Because there was, this morning, a guy called Richard Holzer was arrested for planning to blow up a synagogue.
Where?
In America, of course. But he was done because it was an undercover sting. They basically went online and pretended to be a young white female who was also into white supremacy, and he basically gave up the plan. It's like, oh, here's me dressed in all this regalia with all these different white supremacist symbols, and this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I'd love to know what the person pretending to be this white, like what kind of things they use, and like pretending. It's so interesting.
But that's it. It all comes back to that vernacular.
Yeah.
You know, they had to know the vernacular to use in order to basically get him to trust them. But it's sort of like also the news article I read, I was just like, I can just imagine him being, oh, okay, yeah, here's me.
Yeah.
Like just straight off the bat, and it's like, yeah,
Probably
you
really
engage
excited
with
to
them,
share. Yeah.
So.
Do you think that kind of censorship? So I find this hard too. Is like, do you censor them? Do you cut out all their forums so they have to go underground because they're sharing? So because they might, they get in those sort of early incels that maybe just a little bit interested in red pilling or whatever, and then then they can kind of rope them in. Or do you keep it all out in the open? Or how do you think you should?
If you keep it in the open, you can keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
It's once you start censoring it that people start going, oh, this must be a dangerous thing. Let's continue on with that. And that's what I'm kind of talking about at the AASR, which is, it's like, it's a gateway into more things, because it's like you have these people who are telling you exactly what you want to hear. You may have this idea that, feminism is poison, or like, just, you're not getting laid or anything like that. So it's, you go onto YouTube and there's these people with all these views and all these followers who are saying exactly that. And you go, okay. And then they'll mention someone else who mentions someone else who mentions someone else. And then you end up on Stormfront or, an incel forum kind of thing. So and it is just a snowball, but as soon as you state that someone or something is dangerous, you'll always have those people who go, oh, let's find out why.
You make it more attractive.
Yeah,
you make it secretive and a bit hidden. Yeah, I think it's interesting. But then I also like the idea of maybe being a little bit harder for those people that maybe just sort of on the border to maybe actually get it. But it's hard to say, isn't it? Yeah,
I mean, without being one myself, it's kind of like I've never really sort of gone, oh, that sounds dangerous. Let's look at that. I mean, mainly because I do it already. But it'd be interesting to look at the psychology of a lot of this. This is a problem. This came up a couple of years ago when the Royal Commission was happening for child sexual abuse here. I think it was Chris Hartney said the big problem is we can't interview people because we don't have a psychology degree. We can interview them about their religious ideas, but we can't then talk to them about the sexual abuse stuff because we don't know the right things to say, or how to work it, and that kind of thing. It's the same with like this kind of stuff. So like, do you want to sit down and talk to the people who will join these groups or post on these forums? But we can't really do it from a psychological point of view. We can only do it from a sociological, anthropological, philosophical avenue, and look at it from that. But you can't really get a good mindset on them, I guess.
Definitely.
It's interesting. So what drew you to this path? Like, why?
I wrote a paper in second year on Asatru, on dark Asatru, to be fair.
What's Asatru?
It's the revived Icelandic religion, and so you got like a bunch of white supremacists who use it as a oh, look at us, we're Viking descendants, we're in America, so we're just going to have white enclaves and all that kind of stuff. And so I wrote that, and it was just super interesting. And then I wrote a paper on the creativity movement, which is another American one. It's an atheistic white supremacist group. It's created by a guy called Benn in the 60s. And it's just basically science above all else. And that was very interesting in the case of they don't believe in a god, but they believe that the white race is nature's perfect creation. So there's like this weird science, nature, religion kind of thing going on there. And I just fell into it. So,
You fell into interest.
What's that?
You mean you didn't fall into it?
No, I didn't fall into joining. And, you know, as I always say that I'm kind of taking a silver bullet for a lot of people because I am white and I am male. And
so you're our hero.
Yeah, my cousin, who was almost blown up by the Taliban once, let's put that on the line. She's a nurse. She's in the Sudan for nursing reasons. She worked for Doctors Without Borders. But she was saying, aren't you scared that these people are going to come after you and your loved ones? I went, I don't love anyone enough. So, and they can come after me or like, yeah, I don't really love myself either. So
come at me, bros.
Come at me, bros.
Please don't.
Yeah, please leave for
Incels, if you are listening. I don't think they would listen to this. It's got too much woman content.
What, you think out of our 16 listeners, 60% in Australia and like 12% in America?
That we don't have any incels.
Yeah,
I don't think we do.
No. I think it's a really interesting topic too.
Oh yeah, it's sort of like, especially the whole Great Replacement thing, it's prevalent and needs to be looked at. Like, it's been around for like the last 10 years almost as an idea, but it's only after Christchurch and a few other things that it's really become in the mainstream. But it's the same with incels. It took what's his name, the guy in Canada, to mow down people on even Elliot Rodgers didn't get that much attention. It took someone driving a van, because I think it was because, you know, like if Elliot Rodger had driven a car into a bunch of people, it would have gotten more newsworthy.
I thought he didn't hit the two.
But then he got out and shot people, and it was a shooting, because it's another shooting in America.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
But a van attack in Toronto is kind of like, well, you know, this is kind of newsworthy. And so that's where the incel thing really sort of took off. That's when a lot of people like Angela Nagel started writing about them. Like, even her book Kill All Normies came out in 2016, 2017, something like that. And that's a really good book. But there's just not a lot on them or about them.
Yeah. I think that also just not just people interested in it and writing about them, but people that are educated and actually looking into it and not just doing, like, because you can see the media all the time just getting it wrong, like, or just feeling the fire, or, you know, we've been talking about the symbol of white supremacy.
Yeah, the OK symbol.
The OK symbol, which, you know, everyone, or, you know, Pepe the Frog, everyone likes to jump on these kind of like, oh my God, these are the symbols.
And that is, that in itself, like, the OK symbol was literally just 8chan being 8chan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the media not knowing how to read that.
Yeah.
And then it just went gangbusters, and all of a sudden then you have the white supremacists like, that's funny, let's do it.
Yeah. But also, and also there's so much stuff in those forums is irony. It's ironic, and it's not meant to be taken seriously. And same even in, and then you're walking that fine line, because I don't know if you saw that documentary not recently, like 2 years ago, the incel one. It followed like 3 different incels. I can't remember their name. But yeah, they all were like different various stages. There was the first guys, the catfishing, horrible.
Yeah,
anyway,
I think I might have sent you that link.
It's possible. I don't know if I think there's a few going around, but anyway, what I found really interesting is there was one of the guy, I think he was in the UK, he'd written like this song about Elliot Rodgers being like driving down the road, Elliot Rodgers, and then
he was a gym cell, like he was fully
really
into
buff. And the reporter was like, like the person interviewing was like, don't you find this a bit weird that you kind of, you know, you've got this song and you're kind of validating or like valorizing the Elliot, and he's like, oh no, it's just a joke. But it's like there is this really fine line between seriousness and comedy and you know, banter in these communities, and how it's really difficult as an academic to navigate whether they're being serious, is it just a joke, or what's part. And I think people in the media are often getting more misses than there are hits, and I think that's
I think a lot of the people in the media just see the first thing and then that's it. They don't continue down.
They read the first comment.
They read the first comment. They don't read any of the subsequent comments, which is just other people being you know, being Chan members.
They are rolling on Reddit. Anyway, I think it's great that we've got smart and, you know, interested people looking at this sort of stuff, and not just the media taking it on a trip.
For sure. And for as much as their voices may seem like trite, I think showing them for what they are is needed. You know, giving them that space and time, so then we can understand the dangerousness of some of those movements. Is actually a good thing to do, and it will lead to hopefully a lot of good.
Yeah, well, hopefully.
Definitely. Should we wrap up?
Yeah. Any plugs? Anything you want to say?
Check out the Religious Studies Project. That is definitely a thing if you're into religion and all that sort of fun things. We actually have a podcast on there that we talked about science fiction and video games. That was a good one.
Yep.
Who started on that?
I believe that was all three of us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's why I said us.
And you're the editor, right?
I'm the social media editor, yeah.
Social media editor, nice. And we'll make sure we link that in the thing.
Yes, we will put that in the show notes.
Yep. And if any angry incels want to contact you, we'll put an email.
Yeah, feel free to stick my email. Yeah. But my very professional. I'll throw my cat at them. It's fine. Zero will sit on them and possibly break a leg. He's a chunky boy. Zero. Named after the Nightmare Before Christmas dog.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Is he white?
Cool.
No.
Oh. That dog's white though, right?
Oh yeah.
Does he have a red nose?
Yeah.
Does he have a red illuminated nose? Yeah.
Yeah, Zero
The cat
does.
does,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's
You
an
should probably
alco,
get that looked
so-
at.
He's probably just leftover food.
Yeah.
Guts.
And you're a cat person as well.
I'm an animal person. If I had a backyard, I'd have a dog. But because I live in an apartment, I have a cat. So,
It's academics and cats.
yeah, I think it's because they look after themselves a lot.
Yeah.
So it's like you just have to feed them and occasionally love them with pats. And then let them take your bed and your couch and your chair and your laptop and pretty much everything. So.
You must be drawn, seeing some of our students drawn to people that really don't want our attention.
Yeah. I think that's about it, yeah.
They don't like clingy animals.
That's why we're not high school or primary school teachers.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks, Ray.
Yeah, thanks, Ray. And thanks for joining us. We will be back next week with something. We're not sure because this is pre-recorded. If it's before Christmas, Merry Christmas. If it's after Christmas,
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year.
Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah and festive season. And we will see you anon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.